moving on. Our last story is from Cybersecurity Dive, and the title here is "Don't Panic: AI Reality Check Dominate Major Cybersecurity Conference." So there were two things about this that made me want to talk about it. One was it hit my confirmation bias, which I'm always going to pull in a story that hits my confirmation bias. And then the other one is talking about career paths and resources and whatnot. So I wanted to talk about that too. So this is a recap of a conference where Gartner spoke about the impacts of AI. Obviously, there's still lots of consternation about the impact of mythos, and by the way, we are starting to see like a substantial volume of vulnerabilities coming out of the likes of Microsoft and Apple and Oracle and whatnot. So clearly things are happening, right? Is it all mythos? I don't know. But the point of this speech was our reaction isn't necessarily different. Like the kinds of things we need to be doing, maybe we have to do them faster and more of it, but they aren't radically different. It's the same kind of basic block and tackling. It's getting rid of the old, out of date, end of life stuff. It's reducing our surface area, our tech surface. It's those sorts of things that are even more important, but they've been important all along. And so that's, I think that's hopefully resonating. The other point was, I would say, I'm paraphrasing, like, while you have the stage, you might as well use the opportunity in the paranoia that come along with mythos, the threat of mythos, to go ask for more money. Like, can't hurt, right?
Never let a crisis go to waste.
Can't hurt. So you might as well, say, look, if we don't add more people, mythos is going to cause our data center to catch on fire. So let's get on that.
Yeah, it was an interesting article, and there's a couple things that I kind of took away from it. One, it's heavily leaned into the vulnerability management side of it, but I think there's another big aspect that I've seen CISO struggle with, which is governance of data and sensitive data being sent to AI, and how it's being potentially exfiltrated, used, abused, et cetera. And especially when you've got a bunch of shadow AI going on. And how do we manage that? How do we account for that? How do we see that? And at the same time, you're seeing this mad rush of vendors saying, oh, I can fix that problem. But can they? And so you've got all these little point problems that different vendors say they can solve. That's going to cost a lot of money. You're managing all that stuff. I see another side of this, which there is this pressure, not just on the vulnerability manager side, but how do we do governance over AI? And I don't think we have a good solve yet. I think there's a lot of vendors throwing a lot of FUD and talking to a lot of executives and saying we can solve that problem for you. I think this industry is moving. This portion of the industry is moving so fast, and the AI tools are so far ahead of the governance and management tools that we don't have good solves yet. And I think those who say we do are either misinformed, misleading, or selling you something.
Yeah, I would say I think the tools are accelerating away from us too. Like it's
very executive of you.
The problem is getting worse.
That's a nice way to say that. That's very, very thought leadership.
I try. I was in that chair once. So.
With electricity jolted through your body every couple of days.
I had hair when I started. So one of the other, one of the frustrations, I suppose, and this is very similar to kind of the early days of cloud, is that we talk about AI as if it's one thing, or AI risk as if it's one thing, and it's really not. It's going to manifest itself in terms of a huge increase potentially, if you believe the marketing, of vulnerabilities we have to patch. It's going to increase the number of 0 days, and it's going to reduce the complexity or increase the number of people who have the sophistication to launch advanced attacks on us. It is a sets of tools that our people are going to be sending sensitive data that they really aren't allowed to do, and they might not even realize,
or giving
that they've done it.
permissions. Giving permissions they don't
Right.
understand they're giving.
Right. It's building AI chatbots that we don't really understand how they can be abused given the level of access that they have. I mean, it's not one thing. It's a whole herd of different things, and I am a little concerned that we keep talking about as if it's one kind of homogenous thing, and it's really not. It's a whole bunch of different different cuts. So that's one thing. The other thing that I thought was worth talking about a little bit, we may have talked about this before, but probably not enough, is, and they cover this in the last part of the article, and that's the impact on staffing. And obviously, whether or not you buy the marketing, like, there are people, I have my LinkedIn DMs are filled with people looking for jobs because they got displaced because of AI.
Theoretically.
Whether or not it was really AI, I have no idea. I mean, maybe they were told it was AI, maybe they weren't. Maybe, like, I don't know, but there's a lot of people being displaced for one reason or another. And the other observation is that AI is displacing, or it is and it makes sense, right? It's being used to replace a lot of the junior roles in security. That's where we're focusing, because it's kind of the low-hanging fruit. It makes sense. It's the things that are probably the most easy to automate. I mean, within reason. I mean, I'm not saying it's like a complete replacement for a person. I don't mean to imply that, but I'm saying that that's where I think a lot of the focus is and has been. And so I don't know that there's anywhere close to the job market for kind of the entry level people. And one of the concerns I've got is, like, those entry level people are tomorrow's senior people. And maybe we get to a point where the whole stack is completely AI enabled, and, like, we don't need anybody anymore. But I am really concerned about the ecosystem of IT and infosec and cybersecurity people, and what that job market, the people filling the job market, what that population looks like over time. Because I'm the complexity of our systems and environments is going up. It's, like, going up radically. But we're starting to have a downward trend in the number of people, and the roles that do exist are trending more senior. So, like, it's hard to find an entry level job now.
Yeah.
It's hard because they're we've concentrated them for a long time. We've concentrated them into MSPs and MSSPs and whatnot. And now the MSSPs and the MSPs are like, well, like, if I can automate my level 1 people, like, I can save a whole bunch of money. And now you've displaced, again, tomorrow's senior people. So I'm, time will tell if this is a rational, concern or not, but it seems like we're building a problem, talent problem is going to manifest itself in 5 or 10 years.
You and I are going to be hanging out at the retirement community at the villages, sipping margaritas. Somebody's going to pull up in a black sedan. Jerry, Andy.
The helicopter's going to.
We need you. It's a DNS problem. Nobody knows DNS anymore.
Go back to work.
The AI can't solve it. Please.
Yeah, well, we had that with the year 2036 problem coming up, right? So,
look, if I'm still doing this job in 10 years, something has gone radically wrong.
Fair.
I'll be in my compound in Montana running my cult.
Good on you. Good on you. So anyway, I thought it was an interesting discussion. Again, I want to reiterate the importance of the basics. Like there's so much noise in the system about all sorts of novel technologies, and I think it is more important than ever to focus on the basics. And I fear that we're seeing a shift in we're rewarding people who are specializing to a fault, and I see this in my work that I don't see a lot of focus on basics anymore. I see a lot of like super niche attempts at solving problems that are leaving gaping holes open because they just don't have the whole picture in their mind, and that's very concerning to me. So please focus on the basics.
We've lost generalists in the industry. Everybody's specialist now. And who knows? I mean, it could be AI becomes that generalist for us. Maybe it becomes that knowledge set that we're losing. But AI has intelligence. It doesn't have wisdom. So I do think there's still, at least for now, a value in having an experienced human wisdom applied to problems. But I could be an old fuddy-duddy who's standing in the way of progress and bitching about cars putting buggy drivers out of jobs. I don't know. We'll see.
I mean, in time, it's inevitable. I think the question is what does it look like between now and then, and what problems do we have along the way? And everybody wants to think about, well, what is it going to be in 10 or 15 or 20 years? But we have to get up and go to work tomorrow and next week and next month. And, the things aren't going to materially change by then.
I don't know. So it's an interesting thing to go through. And I wonder if this is how things felt when we started industrializing and all the factory workers and such are like, wait, what about my job?
Yeah. That was so interesting that you say that. That was the other completely random thought I had while I was walking the dog about this. Security, unlike a lot of engineering disciplines, security and IT generally, programming, they are is we've talked about it in a long ago. Like they're trade crafts. They are not like definitive sciences. There's 1,000 ways to design a network and it that are all secure, and it's almost an art form. It occurs to me, that's not where I am. I use Claude and OpenAI pretty extensively, just because I have to, and it does great at things that are known. Right? It's really great at research. It's really great at doing things that are well established. It is not very good at all at being creative, like inventing things that don't currently exist. And so that's where I, and again, it's not always going to be like this. There'll be, I think the current approach to AI is probably going to run its course in the near future, and something will replace it. And so this might be a temporary problem, but I think that's where people are still, are still important to be involved, because it has such a reliance on creativity. Anyway, I guess my one ray of sunshine for today.
Yeah, I think you're right, but I also think that the models will get better and better and better at emulating that, and we'll see how it ultimately comes out.
Yeah. And by the way, while I agree with you, I also don't think it's going to be in the approach. Like, I think LLMs, I think their days are numbered. Like, I think we're going to be tapped out on that approach to AI at some point, and it'll go to something else. I don't know what that something else will be, and that something else might have a very different set of constraints and capabilities that might change that dynamic. So, all right.